Good evening, everyone. Welcome. My name's Steve Picaro, and our webinar tonight is I'm in a LinkedIn group, Now What? Uh, Over the next 45 minutes or so, I'm going to share some tips, some strategies, some of my experience that I've learned over the last 10 years or so being on LinkedIn and how it relates to networking in person and leveraging our networking sphere virtually using social media. We'll jump into that. Before we start, I'd like to welcome everyone for taking the time out of their evening. And for those of you who are joining us via the recording, thank you for taking the time to listen to this. I want to jump right in, respect everyone's time. It's a beautiful evening out. I know people want to get out there and enjoy the beginning of summer. I'm going to take a moment, do a quick welcome, talk going to take a minute, go over a few housekeeping. On the next slide, we'll talk about that, talk about the goals for the evening, what we're trying to do. I'll do a quick introduction for those of you who don't know me. I know I've met many of you in the groups. We're connected or we network in person. We'll do the presentation, and depending on how many questions we get throughout the presentation, we'll have some time to answer a few questions as we move on. So jumping right in, quick housekeeping. If you take a look at your screen, there's a little microphone on the bottom left. You can adjust your speakers. On the bottom right, you can do different things in terms of sending a chat message, and this picture is slightly different. This was an old Fuse program we were using. Now we're using GoToWebinar. The controls are up on the right, but very similar. You'll be able to submit a question. You'll be able to send a message through. So if you have a question throughout the evening or throughout the presentation, do me a favor, shoot it over, and I'll be sure to incorporate it, and hopefully I'll answer it while I'm doing the presentation, or I'll put it on the parking lot and we'll answer it towards the end of the presentation. The other thing is, if we get disconnected for some reason, it doesn't happen that often, once every blue moon, but anything can happen with technology. Do me a favor, dial right back in, and we'll be here waiting. If for some reason we have to jump to another number or another system, I have a backup presentation system. I'll send that out electronically. But usually it doesn't happen. And as a reminder, if you have to jump off for some reason, you're driving, you're getting back home, you get the kids, you're jumping in with a client, for whatever reason, if you have to jump off, not a problem. This is being recorded, and we'll be able to send the recording out to you probably first thing in the morning. You'll have that recording. So I think that's it for housekeeping, 50,000 foot view. Let's take a moment and talk about some of the goals for today. LinkedIn is evolving like many systems. We're going to talk 50,000 foot overview of LinkedIn. We'll try to cover some of the nitty gritty depending on where we are in our time. We'll talk a little bit about the history of social media. Where was it a few years ago? Where are we today? And then more importantly, where are we going in the future? We'll talk about the power of LinkedIn groups. And then we'll talk about some key strategies and tips, almost best practices on how to engage on LinkedIn, whether you're doing this personally or professionally. I know some people are trying to transition in their job. Some people are hiring. Other people are looking to prospect and get business. So we'll try to cover as much as we can throughout the day. And then we'll wrap it up with some best practices, strategies, and tips, and things that I've done over the years that have been very helpful and successful. And the big takeaway here is, if you leave with one or two ideas that you'll implement going forward, then we've done our job, and it's been a win-win for everybody. And I think passing it forward or paying it forward and sharing best practices is a great example of how we make LinkedIn a great community for everybody moving forward. So let me jump into a quick intro. Again, I know some of you I know online, some of you don't. Um, my name is Steve Porcaro. I'm the owner of One for All Coaching. I founded the Sales Plus program. It's my coaching and training. It's my approach. It's the way, my philosophy, the way I work with people. But my background, pretty simple. I started in the operating room in the Navy. I was a surgical technologist, a hospital corpsman. I was very fortunate. I spent 5 years working with surgeons, doing virtually every type of surgery, being able to first assist, really getting hands-on experience with the equipment. I got recruited out of the operating room as my time was up to work with synthase and do orthopedic trauma. But along the way, I was fortunate enough to trauma. I was on call for 12 and a half years. For those of you who are in a service industry or sell a similar type of equipment, you can appreciate what it's like being on call for an extended length of time. I got married, started having kids, and I needed to get a different lifestyle. So I was able to move to sports medicine and worked for a couple distributors and had a great career, 23 years working in the operating room. I started my own distributorship. I had some great specialty products, but at some point, you want to take all that experience and you say, what do I do? What's my next step? And about 14 years ago, I started my coaching and training business, and I've been doing this ever since. But I have a lot of connections, and LinkedIn was one of these things, and we'll talk about it going forward, that allowed me to stay connected with people and allowed me to take what I did in the operating room and move it outside. So let's talk about social media. When we talk about social networking and LinkedIn, years ago it almost had a negative connotation, right? People didn't want to be part of a social network. Again, MySpace, and there were other adult-oriented groups. Plaxo, I remember, years ago when I started my business, I had people sending me invitations to all these things. I didn't really join. I didn't know what to do with it. So in a sense, we talk about social networks, but many of us already have existing networks. It's really just a group of people that share contacts: church, civic community groups, alumni groups, neighborhood groups. If you have kids in school, there's a PTO organization. I have 3 boys. We do a lot with scouting. I have a network through scouting. But one of the things that's interesting is that we've all had networks. We never really had the ability until we got the computer, the smartphone, and some of the technology we have today to really leverage that. And when we talk about networking and why LinkedIn is so powerful, if I met somebody on, if I met Ed or Christina, I wouldn't go up to them and say, "Hey, Ed, I'm Steve. Before we jump in and have coffee and get to know each other, do you mind if we exchange Rolodexes and let you look through my address book?" We really wouldn't do that with each other. But one of the things that we're doing now on LinkedIn is that we're able to connect on LinkedIn because we know, like, and trust people. And I use LinkedIn a lot to schedule, and I'll talk about this more, to schedule phone calls to get to know people, or more importantly, network with the people I know, like, and trust. Because if I get to know Jennifer and, hey, Jennifer, you know what? I really think we can help each other. I'd like to become a connection, or I'd like to share my connections with you because I think would be able to help each other. This technology allows us to do that. Now, one of the things when we talk about social networking, and again, I don't know, there's a lot of different people on the call, different age groups. My children, they're young adults now. My youngest is 17. He doesn't use Facebook anymore. The funny thing is, most of the people on Facebook are middle-aged adults and older. And the funny thing is, I went on it years ago when my oldest son, who's 25, started getting online, Facebook was the place to be for young people. We wanted to know what it was all about, and that's when I joined it. And lo and behold, I see my friends from school, from the military, from church, and before you know it, it's people out there connecting socially. The interesting thing is, when we talk about social networks, different strokes for different folks. There are so many different processes out there, systems, platforms, Instagram, Snapchat, WhatsApp, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and you can go on. And we're just talking about the main ones. But right now, the two big groups out there that you're going to see most people in the business world use. LinkedIn is the most professional platform at the moment, caters strictly to business audience. Facebook does have some business, but I think most of the people, at least in my experience, are businesses that have consumers, business to consumer type products or services. And LinkedIn, you usually see more business to business, healthcare, banking, financial, telemarketing, the telecom industry, things like that. I see social networking as a coin. LinkedIn is on one side, Facebook is on the other. These are the two, I would say, juggernauts at the moment. For better or worse, and I'm not passing judgment, it's a tool. And for those of us who use technology, and again, years ago when the computer came out, wasn't big in offices, fax machines, telephones or cell phones, tablets, smartphones. I mean, we're using technology because it's out there. Right now, we're on this call because LinkedIn is the system and the platform we're using. As I mentioned years ago when I got on this, someone sent me an invitation. I didn't know what to do with it. For 6 months, I think it sat in my mailbox because we didn't know what to do with it. YouTube was up and coming. There wasn't really a place to go to figure it out until I went networking. I opened my business when I was in orthopedics. I knew exactly where my clients were. They were in the physician's offices next to the hospital. I networked within a hospital in person. Now we're leveraging that, the power of LinkedIn. And we'll talk a little bit more going forward. So it's funny, after 6 months, I finally said, all right, I think I joined, and it was amazing. It gave me the ability to stay connected to all these people that I used to work with. So, it's funny when people say, why am I on LinkedIn? Why am I using LinkedIn? It's interesting how we can use it. Not only did I stay in touch with people I worked with in the orthopedic industry, and again, I worked for a major company. I went to many trade shows. I went to many meetings. Back in the old days, they gave us a directory, like a mini phone book with people's phone numbers, and then we had email, and that was about it, with a picture, and that's how you would reach out to people. Now, having the ability to stay in touch with them electronically, I'm connected with people I've known for 20, 25, 30 years almost. Actually, from the military, I'm still connected to some of the people I worked with, and it's amazing to do that. More importantly, it's all about top of mind awareness. If you're out there in business or you're out there looking to get a job, it's all about seeing people and being seen. You want to find and be found by your business contacts. And again, I don't know if I told you this, but I'm in Connecticut. It's a relatively small state. I have friends that some of my clients are in Texas, big state, California, big state. You go to some of these big states, it's hard to jump in the car and pop in and see somebody. Social media allows us to leverage that. Depending on your business, and most people I know in a business-to-business environment, including mine, we work by a referral basis. People, even when I was selling orthopedics, if I had a champion within a hospital, I got my champion to refer and he became my go-to person within that institution that allowed me to get my foot in the door. So part of this is we're building relationships. At the end of the day, everything we do on social media is about building relationships. At least that's what I'm doing. Other people are doing other things, but I think it's all about relationship building. I have up here competitive intelligence research. LinkedIn, for those of you who've been on it, if you've been on it more than a month or 3 months, you've seen LinkedIn change. They're evolving. They were purchased by Microsoft a couple years ago. And pros and cons with that. LinkedIn had a lot of features, and like any platform, it's evolving. You see the news, you'll see what's happening with Facebook, you'll see what's happening with Twitter. People have your personal information. Well, on LinkedIn, I want people to have my information. I want to get it out there. In some ways, this is a free website for people. I may have a business website or I may work for a company, but I have my own personal website, and for the most part, it's free. LinkedIn gives us that ability. Social media gives us that ability. We talk about corporate and personal brand. We're overwhelmed with information. All this technology is great, but at the same time, it can be overwhelming. So how do we stay in touch? How do we grow our business? How do we find people? It's a lot different today, and this is part of this whole history of what we did in the past. We didn't really have a way to do this. We talk about newsletters. People used to print them and mail them or hand deliver them. Now we're sending chats, we're texting people, we're sending quick messages. LinkedIn is the best professional tool that I know of at the moment that allows you to build serious business relationships. And depending on the type of work you're in, can be profitable. Or if you're looking to change careers, LinkedIn is looking to be one of the #1 job boards out there. Years ago it was Monster, but now everyone's going over to LinkedIn. So these are, if someone asked me what are the top 5 or 6 reasons why I'm on LinkedIn, this would be it, among other things. Again, there's a few other reasons, but at the moment, LinkedIn is the big fish in the pond. So the other question I get is, what isn't LinkedIn? Why don't we see kids on there? Why don't we see games on LinkedIn? Well, I don't really see many youth. I interact with a lot of youth in my private home, private time with my church and scouting. And the young people that I connect with on LinkedIn are their kids, young adults who are going off to college, who are seniors in high school, who are starting to do internships or apprenticeships. But you're not going to see games on LinkedIn like you do on Facebook or some of the other apps out there. Facebook has a different feel to it. MySpace, there are some people who are still using MySpace or a variation of it. Twitter is slightly different, but you'll notice if you're out there, I actually closed down my Twitter account just because it was a pain trying to run all these different accounts. And the reality is, I think the secret to success is doing a few things and doing them well. Most of the people I interact with professionally are not on Twitter. That's not the type of business I have. But Facebook, MySpace, Twitter, Instagram, the other one, Snapchat, they all have their space for the right people at the right time. The other thing that's very interesting, we talk about what's the #1 way to grow your business or to get a job. People say, hey, I'm going to get on LinkedIn next week and I know, it will help me. Well, LinkedIn, it's not a quick fix. It's not instant gratification. However, it is a long-term solution in terms of networking and building relationships. It's not going to do the work, but it is going to facilitate. It gives you the opportunity to connect with people. Again, I can look up people I worked with, people I lost touch with, and you can search schools, companies, geographic. There's some great search tools on LinkedIn, and if they're not on LinkedIn, I find them on Facebook or vice versa, and I can usually track down virtually anybody I need to or want to. The other thing that's very interesting, I get this a lot from people that I network with. Oh, it's a waste of time. I don't have time for that. Well, I do most of my LinkedIn work in the morning when I'm having a cup of coffee. While I'm getting ready for work, while I'm drinking my coffee, unless I'm in the car, then I can't do it. But I can usually take care of everything I need to do on LinkedIn 15, 20 minutes a day. But again, it's another communication tool. And answering your emails, reaching out to people, if it becomes a habit for you and it becomes part of your daily process or system, it's going to work for you. It's like going to the gym. And some of you may know I do backpacking. I have a 50-mile hike coming up in July, and I've been practicing. I've been hiking. I've been getting in shape because I can't do this. I can't cram everything in a week before this hike. I have to start a way back. The other big takeaway here, social networking is here to stay. At the moment, we're doing this through LinkedIn and Facebook. I do a lot of video conferencing. A lot of people I work with across the country, they want to meet in person, but it doesn't make sense to jump on the plane. And I have clients in, major cities. No one wants to hit traffic during the snow, during traffic. We can jump on, we're going to video chat. And it's a great way to do that. But we're not going to get rid of video. Social media in some form or shape, it's evolved over the last 10 years. I think it's going to be more interactive. It's going to be more personal. And at some point, there may be a few players out there. If you remember Google, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago, Google came out with their new Google Plus service, and they were trying to make a play for social media, right? They were trying to throw their hat in the ring with Facebook and LinkedIn. Most of us have a Google account because our phone, if you're using an Android, you need a Google account. Many people use Gmail. There's some great features, but Google wasn't able to join the social media the way LinkedIn and Facebook. What they ended up doing is buying YouTube, and YouTube is really turning into a social media platform. So again, a lot of variations of social media. We're talking about LinkedIn. And at the end of the day, can we avoid it? I don't think so. There are some businesses, again, retail businesses that are very local, some mom and pop shops. I belong to my local chamber of commerce. They don't really use social media. They may not understand it. They may not understand the value and the benefits, but at some point, everybody is going to be on it. And when I go down to and I live in a relatively small community, a small town, I go to the Chamber of Commerce. I do some work there. I'm networking and I'm meeting people. Everybody from the florist to the small restaurant to there's a one-man optician shop. There's a small bakery shop. There's a small jewelry shop. All these people are using social media to stay top of mind with their community. And it's a great way to do that. And at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to build relationships, build, nurture, maintain them. And on occasion, we want to meet new people if we're looking to grow our business. If you're a business owner or a team leader and you need to hire people, you want to have a pipeline of people that you can reach out to. And if you're out there transitioning between jobs, you want to be able to know who's looking for you and how to best get in front of them. So LinkedIn is a lot of things, but it's also a lot of things that people who don't understand what LinkedIn is, they say, oh, I'm not going to do it because I've had a bad experience. And I can certainly understand that. I do want to take a moment though and talk about the profile, because that does come up about, what do I need to put on my profile? And again, this is evolving. LinkedIn is evolving, but there's some basics here. LinkedIn, and again, some people have been on it for a while. they're trying to follow Facebook a lot with the hashtags. If you look at your profile, the layout has changed, I think, 10 times in the last 10 years, but they're trying to optimize it for tablets and smartphones. And and they're pushing their app very strongly. I don't have it on my phone because I have fat fingers and I can't really type on my phone. Tablet is if you're going to be utilizing information, a tablet's a great way to do this. But when people talk about LinkedIn profile, one of the things we're doing now more than ever is really personal marketing or branding. We never had to do this because, you worked for a major company, your company would do the marketing, but now people want to know, like, and trust you. People are going to do business with you or hire you because they can connect with you. They meet you, they see you, they read about your background, and they say, that's a person I want on my team, or that's part of the company or the corporate culture I want to be part of. So if you're new to LinkedIn, think of your profile as a personal web page. And the funny thing is, I have website, I have a LinkedIn profile. Not everyone reads everything. Sometimes people will call me and they'll ask me questions, and I'll say, "Oh, did you get a chance? We'll be talking." And before I chat with people, I always look at their profile. And sometimes they'll say, "Oh, I haven't had a chance to look at your whole profile. I just read a few things and I want to chat with you." I'm like, "That's great." So it's a resource. Not everyone's going to read it. It's very hard. Again, if you're driving and you're on a small device, it's hard to read everything on the screen. If you're using LinkedIn to grow your business and you're working for a company, it allows you to leverage and extend the footprint of your company, get your name out there. It becomes your personal business presence. In a sense, all the people you're networking with, it gives them, because some companies, and I've worked with financial advisors, for those of you who know financial advisors, they have a very strict code on what they can share. But other people, they want to share. They want to be a resource. I see myself with my clients as a strategic partner. I want to help them be successful. To do that, sometimes it's helping them connect with the right people. Sometimes it's helping them before they even know that they need help. And that's, I think, what we can do with the profile, but we need to share that information online. The other thing, again, not necessarily for everyone. Some people say, I don't want to share all my credentials and experience, but it does allow people to understand where you're coming from. When I started the the medical device sales groups that I'm running on LinkedIn, I started them because I wanted to network with people who are in that industry. And I was just leaving that. I had my small distributorship, and I said, geez, I want to go down, but in Connecticut, unless I go to the major hospitals, there really is no other place locally in person that I can connect with other medical device sales professionals. LinkedIn gave me an opportunity to create a virtual community, and I wanted to connect with people who understood. And again, if you're out there carrying a bag, carrying a pager, working in the middle of the night in a snowstorm during a holiday, doing a trauma case, unless you've done something like that, people, they don't understand that experience. So when you put your credentials and your experience on there, right away, people are going to look at your profile or vice versa and say they know exactly what the game that I'm trying to play and what it takes to win. So don't be afraid to share that, because I think that, in some ways people were reluctant to share information thinking it was private. The other big thing, excuse me for 1 minute. One of the things, companies spend a lot of money advertising. commercials work. YouTube, they spend a lot of money. If you watch YouTube videos, you know there's always video commercials coming on. LinkedIn's the same way. Your name will come up. People are going to search. If you put the right information in, you're connected in the right groups, you're going to share a common profile. And what happens is you want people who need your service or people who need what you can offer them if you're transitioning. You have to go where the fish are. And it's funny. When people were joining groups on LinkedIn, they said, "Oh, I'm going to join, but I'm not going to do anything." Well, if you're going fishing, you have to bring the right bait. You have to bring the right fishing rod. You have to go where the fish are, or you're not going to catch anything. And LinkedIn's the same way to do that. That's why we're in a group, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Again, basic things, aligning with the company story. I've seen some people go out there and their profile, if you take a look at it, says one thing, but the company and the industry they're working for, it's out of alignment. And you read it and you're saying something's not right here. And the funny part is, and I'm a big proponent of this, and I spend a lot of time working with teams and groups with communication. I know what I mean. How come other people don't know what I mean? I know what I'm writing. How come other people don't know what I'm writing? Our profiles, and it's hard, I'm I'm as guilty as the next person. I try to shoehorn as much information. Some people want a lot of detail. Some people want the 50,000-foot view. My best suggestion, find somebody for profiles in a similar industry with a similar background and emulate that. Find the style that you like. Look at what's out there. You want to be comfortable, and over time things are going to change in your profile. You just want to update it. We evolve with the times. Our profile will evolve with the times. And the last one, marketing oriented. And what I mean by that is, one of the things LinkedIn changed was how difficult it was to connect with people. They got a lot of emails. People were complaining about spam. And at the same time, they almost made it so hard, they turned into the sales prevention team. And people who wanted to get in touch with me couldn't. So what I had to do was take my phone number and my website and put it right on my profile, so people didn't have to connect to me to get my contact information. And that was one of the interesting things that LinkedIn did, is at one point, you were able to see everyone's phone number and information, but then it got too free flowing and people kind of, the pendulum swung from one extreme to another. But if you want people to reach out to you, put your contact information in your summary, make it easy. So if they're not first connections, they can still reach out to you. And yes, on occasion, you may get somebody trying to spam you or to, sell you something you don't need, but for the most part, it's very professional. Any questions so far about the profile, about LinkedIn? I know I've been talking for a while. I apologize. I'm going to take a drink and take a breath. And if you have any questions, send it over before we're going to jump in and kind of move things along. All right. Not a problem. If you have anything, just send me an email or save it towards the end. Thank you. All right. So social networking, again, it's I just want to reiterate this because there's a lot of people I work with who say, well, I do networking in person. And I said, if you're networking in person, it's no different than networking online virtually. We want to get to know people. We want to develop relationships with people. Sometimes we are looking for support. When I put the medical device groups together, I couldn't talk to other people because they didn't know what it was like to try to get through purchasing, to try to get into the OR, or try to get into a hospital and healthcare setting. And I wanted to be around people who understood what that challenge and struggle was. I needed to bounce ideas off people. Hey, how do you get past purchasing? How do you get ahead of orthopedics? When I started LinkedIn, this was one of my success stories. I was able to network. I'm in Hartford, close to Hartford, Connecticut. New Haven, Connecticut's about an hour away, but that's where Yale New Haven Hospital was. And I was able to connect with somebody down there via LinkedIn because we weren't competitors, and we met for coffee halfway. We started chatting. He shared his insight, and he helped me get into Yale New Haven and close some really good business. Asking for advice, sharing ideas, referral to decision makers. This was like best practices, right? The thing is, it's great to have a small network, but sometimes, as much as I want to be a mile wide and an inch deep knowing people, I would rather be an inch wide and a mile deep in building relationships with people. Again, I came from the OR. I spent many years working in the medical device industry. Those are the people I want to associate with. If you have a particular group of people that you're trying to connect with, LinkedIn is a great way. Social networking is a great way to do that. Not only that, that's why we're going to be talking about groups in a minute, right? When we're in groups, it brings that much closer to that. So again, I'm going to share some basic networking tips because, again, sometimes, and I'm the same way, there are certain things I'll do in person, but I don't do them online, or I forget to do them online. So one of the things that's very interesting is sometimes people will call me, I don't know them, and they're asking for a referral or a job. And as much as I would love to help people, and I do it all the time, it's really hard for me to refer you if I don't know you. If I have a relationship with people, and I have relationships with key people across the country because I've worked with them, I can't risk my relationship referring somebody I don't know. That would be really hard for me to do that. But one of the best things that we can do is ask for information. And when I reach out to people on LinkedIn and I need help, I'm not asking them or imposing on them. What I'm asking for is their advice and counsel. You know, hey, Carlton, if you were to call this particular company, who would you talk to? Who would be the best person for me to connect with on that? Advice and counsel is a very non-threatening way to start that relationship. Again, even online, as much as I love sending emails, and that's a joke, I really don't like sending emails. What I do is I'll say, hey, Carlton, if you have 20 minutes, let's have a quick chat, get to know each other, start the process. How can I help you? What are you looking to do? How can we be of service? How can we help each other network? How often can we stay in touch? LinkedIn is a great pool of people, but again, it's shotgun versus a laser. And that's why we're in a group. If you're looking for referrals, if you're looking to get into a certain hospital, if you're looking to get a certain type of person on your team, you want to go where the fish are. And that's why finding and being part of a group is so important. But again, sometimes you're not sure what you're looking for. That's why you're going to ask people for advice and counsel. Hey, if I was going to hire somebody for this job, what are the top 3 attributes I would be looking for? Or vice versa, if I was going to be looking to work for this company or this specialty or this product, what are the top 3 things I'd be looking for? The end of the day, you're going to get out of LinkedIn what you put into it. And it's not so much LinkedIn that you're putting it in, but you're networking and building and growing that relationship. There are people I met on LinkedIn 10 years ago that over time, we became good friends. Personally and professionally, we've helped each other. Very powerful. And again, not a quick fix, but it's no different than any other professional organization you connect to. So I want to spend a few minutes talking about the groups before the end of our time is up, and I apologize for running over. But LinkedIn groups, for some reason, LinkedIn limits them to 50. Once in a while, I heard rumors they were going to change, or they're in the process of changing. I can tell you I belong to probably 47 groups, but I'm only active in less than a half a dozen just because it's really hard. If I was going to do this over, I'm probably going to get rid of some of those groups that I can't get into. I just don't have time to do it. You can reflect your personal interest and goals as well as your your personal goals. There's alumni groups that I belong to, scouting groups I belong to on LinkedIn. Again, these are people that have the same type of interests I have, personally and professionally. If you're looking to grow your business, what's your target market or the demographics? Are you going after business owners? Are you going after decision makers? Are you going after clinicians? Whatever you're trying to connect with, there's a group out there. And if there isn't a group, guess what? On the next slide, we're going to talk about how to make your own group. But at the end of the day, the groups take you off the street and get you that much closer to being in the group. It's much easier to say, hey, Christina, excuse me, the owner of the group, Steve Picaro, suggested I reach out to you. We're in the same group, but we also had some common interest and thought would be a good connection for each other. It's much easier if you're in the group going forward. Not only that, you're going to be able to connect and communicate a little bit easier. LinkedIn changed their process. You used to be able to email people in the group for free, and then they limited to 15 per month. I think currently that's where it's at if you're on the free plan. And I've been on the free plan for many years, and once in a while I go on the premium plan to see if I'm missing anything. But the reality is, if you put your phone number and your email right on your profile, you don't have to connect to people. You can connect to them outside and say, hey, Christina, we're in the same group. The owner of the group suggested I reach out to you. We may be able to help each other. Do you have a few minutes to chat? Very simple. Easy to communicate and to connect because you've already figured out that they're in the same group as you. So when we talk about the groups, and this is really, again, summarizing everything, networking paradise, but again, it's like going to the beach and you say, hey, this is where I'm going to put my feet up. I want to lounge here. I'm going to plant my umbrella and I want to spend some time here. One of the things that happens in the groups, people ask questions, people answer them, we give feedback, we share best practices, and sometimes we share resources depending on what's going on. You get to see other people in your field, in your industry, and sometimes with your customers too, depending on the group. They want to know that you're an expert in what you do. So the thing is, there's a lot you can do in the groups, providing you're in the right group and you have the time to do that. Again, not for everybody, not for every business, but I can tell you anything you can do to be more productive with your time, to be proactive, to be, and I personally hate sales, but I love when people buy, and I hate cold calling, but I love warm calling. So what can I do to start that process and to make it easier? So at the end of the day, if a certain group isn't out there, it's very easy for an individual to start your own group. And because you're starting your own group, you're going to be the manager and the moderator. And depending on the group, my wife runs a group. She's an illustrator. She has a fashion illustrator group. She has people from all over the world in that group. And it's great because, again, for when you're talking fashion, that's a great place to be. On the downside, she's moderating groups for people where English is their second or third language. They're in different time zones. They may not have the same values. You can set certain limits. One of the groups I had was an alumni group for people who worked at Synthase USA years ago. If you didn't have Synthase USA on your profile, that wasn't really a group for you. But running and starting your own group, I think, is the ultimate networking. It allows you to network and reach a lot of people on a regular basis. I'm not going to lie to you, take some work, but I think the benefits are there. I've been very fortunate over the years to meet people from all over the country and the world in the medical device industry and beyond, and it sets the foundation. But here's the thing. If you're in sales, marketing, leadership role, you own your own business or a small business owner, we're people, uh, people where we have to go out and we have to build relationships and we have to go out there and press the flesh and meet people. Not everybody is. So we're fortunate that for us, networking is very easy. There are some other people that don't enjoy networking, whether it's in person or whether they're doing it online. But think about this. If you like going out and meeting people, I hate to say it, but it's almost like going to the movies. In the old days, we had to go to the theater to watch a movie. Now you can download it, and with Hulu and Netflix and Roku and all these other things, that's really what we're doing with LinkedIn and social media. So to wrap it up, I'm going to share some of these strategies, and then we'll kind of take a few questions if anyone has some questions. But very simply, you don't have to do all of these, but I think, if there's something here that jumps out at you that you'd like to do, certainly, if I can be of any assistance, let me know. Number one, I think if you're in a particular field or your company wants to have a group for their customers or for their users, you can start your own group. Again, updating your status. Again, if you're building relationships, people want to know that you're still out there kicking. You don't have to update it hourly. You don't have to do it once a day, but every few days, at least once a week, so people know that you're still out there. Give recommendations and get recommendations. It's a good way for you to get your name out there. It's a good way for people to get their name out. Share it with your colleagues and friends. It's one of these features that people don't think, I don't want to give anyone a recommendation, but it's so powerful that it helps the individual you're writing the recommendation, but it also helps you when you get one back in return. Very respectful. The nice thing about LinkedIn, you can put video, presentations, documents, slideshows on your profile. Again, for some people, it's a lot of information. LinkedIn also allows you to post articles now in their Pulse thing. It can be overwhelming, but start small. People want to know you and like you, and if your company's giving you information, do it. Half the stuff I post has nothing to do with my business. People want to know who I am as a person, and that's why I post some of the stuff I do. Network and communicate. Again, reaching out, do it all the time. It's a great way to do it. I'm very fortunate. My dad lives in Florida during the winter with his wife, and when I go down there, I can always reach out to my LinkedIn friends in Florida and say, hey, I'm coming down. Are you going to be available? Let's get together. And it's a great way if you're traveling around the country to build a network. Search companies and build a database. Again, with Google being so powerful, LinkedIn lost the edge on that, but they're still a good resource. Put your LinkedIn URL in your signature. So when you're talking to people, it's great when you send your signature, but if they want to know more about you, here you go. Here's my little LinkedIn logo or my little LinkedIn button. Posting articles, we already talked about that. Participate in discussions. Again, some of the groups have so many discussions going on, it's overwhelming. And I know that the engagement level is varied, has waned over the last few years just because it's overwhelming. But again, in the right discussion, I've seen some of these discussions last for years just because of the topic. And at the end of the day, and I'm guilty, and my mission, my LinkedIn mission is to reach out to all the people I know that are first connections to stay in touch with them. That alone will keep me busy, I think, for the rest of the years, the next 2 or 3 years. All right. So the last thing I want to do, just to summarize this, is think about what the purpose is. Why are you on LinkedIn? Are you growing your business? Are you building a sales team or a leadership team? Are you transitioning? What is the purpose? once you're clear with your purpose, I think it's important to really put together that plan and prepare, right? How much time do you have on a daily, weekly basis? Are you trying to build a network? Are you keeping track of it? LinkedIn, and this is the thing that kills me, LinkedIn had a great system for keeping track of people, almost like a built-in CRM. And then Microsoft bought it, which makes their own CRM, and then they took it away from LinkedIn and they never replaced it. But it kills me. I mean, it's frustrating. But the thing is, if you're going to, it's just like joining a gym. If you're going to invest the time and the money, you want to make sure you have the money and the effort. You make sure you have the time to go on a regular basis. You can, I know people who have the best gym memberships, but it doesn't work if they don't go. The other thing is prioritize, right? Along with this planning and preparation, what are you trying to do first? Where do you start? Sometimes just getting on LinkedIn, joining some discussions, reaching out to a few people, you'll find your level, right? It's different for everybody. Some people are in front of a computer all day. Some people are behind the wheel as a road warrior. Some people are half and half. So depending on what you can do, you're going to make that fit into your schedule. And then the last thing, and you've kind of done it already, is press the start button, right? Pull the trigger, commit. You're on the call, so you're looking to get something done. You're here saying, what can I do slightly different? What do I want to get out of it is only limited by what I put into it. And at the end of the day, when I talk to people who are new to LinkedIn and they say, Steve, what can I do on LinkedIn? I can say, and I say truly with honesty and confidence, you can do whatever you want on it, literally. But part of it is you have to know what you want to do along with your goals and making sure that it's what you want to do with the time you have. Again, it's all about planning and prioritizing. All right, so top of the hour, just want to share a couple things with you. Business networking. I'm going to send out these slides with you as well, so you don't have to write these down. But again, networking, building relationships, these are some of the books. Sometimes I get asked, Steve, what books would you recommend? What's helped you on LinkedIn? Sometimes it goes back to the basics, right? How to win friends and influence people, basic. Good to great. I know many of you are doing a good job now. You just want to get to that next level. And hugging your customers. This is a great book about customer service and doing something outside. LinkedIn allows us to do that in a way to stay in touch sometimes, but we have to think outside the box. And the last one, again, Jeffrey Gitomer has been around for a long time. Little gold book of yes attitude. I would say 90% of the issues I run into with organizations and their team, it's attitude. And how do we come back and look at things a different perspective? LinkedIn is a great opportunity. And again, for the most part, it's free other than your time. So it's a great way to start. Last thing, if we're not connected, it'd be an honor if you'd like to connect, stay in touch. My information's here. I'm on LinkedIn, so feel free to connect with me. I always love meeting new people. I love networking, and if I can be of any assistance, please let me know. I may not have all the answers, but I can certainly find somebody who may, or know someone who does. So if you'd love to, please send me a note. I'd love to connect with you. And we have a few minutes, so if you have a question, I know that was like a big dump, and I apologize for trying to squeeze everything in. But if anyone has any question related to LinkedIn or networking, this is a good time to ask or type it. For those of you who are listening to the recording, if you have a question after watching this, feel free to email me or just send me a note if you want to have a quick chat. That's possible too. I have an online scheduling system. You can go online, find a time that works best for both of us, just schedule that in. I love networking virtually, but I love doing it better in person. All right. Any other questions or anything before we wrap it up for the evening? All right. It looks like a hand went up. Christina, yes. You have a question. You want to type it over or do you want to get unmuted? I think I can unmute you. All right, Christina, you're unmuted.
Well, now I don't know. I feel like I'm one of those people that I'm not very good at my profile and all of that part. And, I understand where you're coming from, that you have to get better at all of that. So you're saying just work on it like 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, and it does eventually fall into place?
Well, yeah, because you know what? I wish there was a way to do everything right the first time. You're
No, it doesn't.
right. I mean, I don't know what you do professionally, but you know for a fact, right? Sometimes you're going to go in there. I don't know about you, but I get some of my best ideas in the shower. So I'll work on something and I'll have to step away to let my mind, I have to decompress. And the
Yeah.
thing about the profile, again, depending on what you're trying to do, some people have such a huge amount of experience. How do you summarize that? Now, some people have a great profile on a website or in their business and they can just transfer it. But the thing is, 15 minutes a day is like magic. Don't sweat about it unless you really need something to happen today or tomorrow.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I have so many different years of experience, but now I'm actually kind of transitioning, but not transitioning because I sell insurance. I sell Aflac and life insurance and all that fun stuff, but I'm working on becoming a weight loss coach.
Oh, excellent.
I lost 80 pounds in 15 months. So
Impressive.
now I really want to get people to follow me. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Yeah, yeah. So are you doing this under the radar, like a stealth under while you're still selling your main product line?
Well, I mean, I can continue to sell Aflac because I'm an independent contract.
Hmm.
So it's just, I can do both. It's not a conflict or anything. It's funny because I'll go into accounts that for my open enrollments, and people are more interested in my weight loss than my Aflac. They're like, we already have all of our Aflac products that we're happy with. We want to know about this weight loss.
Right.
So,
No, no, that's
you
true. All
know,
right.
so I think that's why I'm like, and I can't seem to like get out of my own way. Like I can't, like I don't seem to be putting the face that I want in front of people.
Right. All right. So because of time, so I'll share a thought with you, and again, I'll be more than happy to chat offline at a different time, just because I mean, I love what you're doing, and I think what you're doing is we need more people, to do it to help people live a healthy life. Because in business, you're your best tool, and if you don't take care of yourself, you're dead in the water type of thing. But the thing here is, I wouldn't try to diminish where you're going. What I would do is consider dovetailing it and saying, one of the reasons why I sell insurance and I'm interested in helping people lead a healthy life and be at their ideal weight is because they really go hand in hand. There's a good
Yeah.
story there, and if you can weave them together, and that's the part. If you and I met for coffee and I asked you, how do you see yourself 2 years down the road, or what's the connection between insurance and weight loss? That's your story. And I don't need you to think about it. I just need the words to fall out of your mouth. And when they fall out, that's going to be your story. And it's going to be so simply amazing. You're going to say, how come I didn't think of that before?
Mm.
See, and the only reason why I know is because my wife has been through this and she's losing weight and this after 3 kids, you know what it's like, right? But the thing is, you sell insurance. What's the purpose of insurance?
To protect somebody,
What's the purpose of losing weight and staying healthy?
protect them so that they're healthy, so they they have a
Right.
healthy lifestyle. I mean, it makes sense. I mean,
Right. So you're not changing what you're doing. You're just offering people different solutions.
yeah,
That's your story.
yeah,
That's very exciting.
oh yeah,
Yeah. So that's what you do. You're an expert in helping people protect themselves.
yep.
And when they ask you how, well, I offer it 2 ways. I sell insurance, but I also help people with weight loss.
Hmm.
All right. So, Christina, let's connect offline because I want to hear more
Yes.
about this. Jennifer just had a great question. Do you recommend connecting with some of the same people on LinkedIn and that you do on Facebook? All right. So, Jennifer, thank you. That's a great question. So, I'll share my story. So, for years, I called on orthopedic surgeons, like I mentioned. Christina, I'm just going to put you on mute for a moment. So I called on orthopedic surgeons, and when people started getting email and cell phones, getting those personal numbers was like you made it. You became a resource to them. And some of these people, I mean, I actually called on somebody for 20 years because we actually worked in the military, and then he moved across from Groton, the sub base, over to the hospital in New London. And I was friends with him, and but over time, there were people who went through the University of Connecticut, the residency program. So I had a guy over here with his wife one year at my house for Thanksgiving, and we became friends with him. So there are people that you may meet professionally where you may develop a friendship with them, those people without a doubt. And then there are people I know, again, people I go to church with, people I do scouts with, people in the community that are friends that I end up. And here's a guy I've been going to church with for 15 years. He finally pulled me aside one day and said, "Hey, Steve, what do you do again?" And I said, "Why? What are you looking for?" He goes, "Well, I'm having a problem with my team at work and I need some help. And I thought maybe you could help." And I'm like, "No problem." And I connected with him on LinkedIn. So again, two different sides of the same coin. Depending on the situation, I would definitely connect with them because there are some people that I work with. I see them more on Facebook than I do on LinkedIn. Most of my, you know, clients are business owners or leaders or sales professionals, and they're working. They're like, I don't have time for Facebook, but they're looking at their kids on, LinkedIn, but they're looking at their kids on Facebook. They're posting stories, and it's a funny thing, but I do connect with a lot of my clients and my prospects on Facebook because that's how we get to know each other. So my answer is yes, Jennifer, if that's what you're asking. Not everyone feels comfortable doing that, and I can understand why. Some people want to keep people at arm's length, and there is a sense of privacy. So I'm not saying you have to, but I think for some people and the right person, I think it's an added benefit because most of the people that I work with, we usually end up becoming friends because of the type of work we do. And I feel like I'm a partner with them anyway. So to Christina's point. All right. Thank you, Jennifer. All right. Any other questions? I know we're running a little bit over. I apologize. But again, if I don't get a chance to answer your question and you want to pick my brain, just send me an email and we can certainly chat on the phone. I know it's hard to download everything in 60 minutes. So, all right. Any other last questions before I wrap it up? All right. Well, I want to thank you all for coming and spending this time with me this evening. It's been a pleasure meeting some of you on the phone, and I'm sure I'll see some of you online on LinkedIn and or Facebook. Jennifer, you never know. I'm there as well. So have a good day, and look for my email in the next few minutes. Well, I'm sorry. Probably by tomorrow morning, you'll get everything. So have a good night, everyone. Thank you again. Bye-bye.